All right, get ready because today we're taking a deep dive into something super important for taking control of your health,
Oh, yeah?
food. Specifically, we're going to be talking about building a healthy eating plan if you have diabetes.
Awesome.
We've got a fantastic guide from the Mayo Clinic packed with evidence-based advice to help us along the way.
The Mayo Clinic. Good stuff. So, what's the mission for today's deep dive? You need to give everyone a meal plan or something?
I wish it were that easy, but no, we're focusing on the core principles behind a diabetes-friendly diet.
Okay.
And most importantly, we want to make sure you know how to apply all this info to your own life.
You got it. So, let's jump right in then. Why is healthy eating so important when we talk about diabetes?
Right. What's the link between what we eat and what's happening with our blood sugar?
Well, you can kind of think of blood sugar levels like a roller coaster.
Okay.
When you eat, especially foods high in carbohydrates, those levels go up. Now, with diabetes, the body doesn't process those sugars as efficiently. So it can lead to some pretty dramatic spikes and dips.
So that roller coaster ride you mentioned.
Exactly. And over time, that can lead to complications.
Complications.
Yeah.
Okay, so more than just feeling sluggish after a sugary snack.
Right.
What kind of complications?
Potentially damage to your nerves, kidneys, even your heart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's serious stuff. It's all about protecting your long-term health and well-being.
Definitely makes it clear why this matters. But when we say diabetes-focused diet, does that mean a lifetime of deprivation? Am I going to be stuck eating bowls of lettuce and flavorless substitutes forever?
No, not at all.
Really?
It's more about sustainable, healthy choices and a good eating schedule.
So consistency is key.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's crucial to personalize this stuff. If you're ever feeling lost, talk to a registered dietitian. They can help create a plan that fits your life.
Love that. So working with your body, not fighting against it. All right, so what kinds of foods should we be focusing on?
Think of it as loading up on foods that will keep your blood sugar stable and your body happy.
Okay, sounds good.
We're talking healthy carbohydrates, fiber-rich foods, heart-healthy fish, and even some good fats.
Hold on, good fats. I thought all fat was bad, especially with diabetes.
And that's a pretty common misconception. Not all fats are the same.
Oh, really?
The ones we're talking about, monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, those can actually help lower your cholesterol.
Interesting.
And that's super important for folks with diabetes because they're at a higher risk for heart disease.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are some ways to get those good fats? I'm ready to break up with the fat-free stuff.
How about a salad with some olive oil drizzled on top?
Tasty.
Or even just snacking on some avocado slices. You can add a little salt and pepper if you want. Small changes make a big difference.
I like it, yeah. All right, let's break down the other food groups you mentioned. Starting with those healthy carbs. I'm guessing not all carbs are equal, right?
Exactly. It's about picking the right ones.
Okay, what are the right ones?
Well, complex carbohydrates over simple ones. Think of simple carbs as that roller coaster we talked about earlier. They cause those rapid spikes.
And they're the bad guys.
Basically, you find them in things like sugary drinks and those super processed snacks.
Oh, okay.
But complex carbs, now those are different. They're digested slower, which helps keep your blood sugar steady.
That's good.
Yeah, and you get more energy that lasts.
So where can we find these complex carb superstars?
Fruits, vegetables, whole grains. Think like a lentil soup for lunch or a colorful fruit salad for a snack.
Okay, way more appealing than my lettuce-only vision. Now, how about fiber? I know it's good for my digestion, but how does that play into the diabetes picture?
Fiber's like a secret weapon.
A secret weapon, huh?
Yeah. It slows down digestion, which helps prevent those crazy blood sugar spikes. It's like putting the brakes on that roller coaster.
Nice.
Yeah.
So more fiber means a smoother ride for my blood sugar.
You got it.
Any easy ways to get more of it? I'm ready to add this weapon to my arsenal.
You're already on the right track with those fruits and veggies.
Right.
You could also try adding nuts to your snacks.
Okay.
Like a handful of almonds is a good option.
I love almonds.
Or how about some bean chili for dinner?
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Right.
Okay, so complex carbs and fiber are working their magic. You also mentioned heart-healthy fish. Why is fish specifically important for people with diabetes?
We know that diabetes increases your chances of heart disease.
Right.
So fish like salmon, mackerel, or tuna can really help your heart out.
So it's all about those omega-3s.
Yep.
How often should we be eating fish?
At least twice a week, says the Mayo Clinic.
Okay.
Oh, but just a quick heads up, especially for any pregnant or breastfeeding listeners out there, be mindful of mercury levels in fish.
Good point.
Yeah. It's best to limit fish, like shark, swordfish, king mackerel, or tilefish.
Great reminder. All right, so we've covered what we should be eating. Now, what about the foods to limit or avoid?
Remember that link between diabetes and heart health?
Uh-huh.
The foods to avoid are really all about protecting your heart.
Yeah.
Mainly saturated and trans fats, cholesterol, and sodium.
So basically the usual suspects.
Right. Think fatty meats, fried foods, and those processed snacks loaded with sodium.
Gotcha. But it's not about cutting them out completely, right?
Exactly. It's about making smarter choices and finding some healthier alternatives. So swap that greasy burger for a grilled chicken breast.
Okay.
And skip those deep fried fries for some baked sweet potato fries. Small changes can make a big difference.
Totally. This is all great info, but putting it all together into a plan seems a little daunting.
I see that.
What are some ways to actually create a meal plan? Does the Mayo Clinic offer any suggestions?
Oh, they definitely do. They have a few different approaches. Think of them like tools you can use. You could pick the one that works best for your life, or even combine a few. One of the most popular ones is the plate method.
The plate method.
Yeah. It's a really visual and easy way to balance your meals.
I like visual. Tell me more.
Imagine your plate divided into sections. Half of it is non-starchy veggies.
Okay.
A quarter is lean protein, and the other quarter is for healthy carbs.
So it's like a blueprint for building balanced meals.
Exactly. Plus, it makes healthy eating look way more appealing. Who doesn't love a plate full of colorful veggies?
So true. What other tools are there for meal planning?
Another one is carb counting. It's especially helpful if you're using insulin. It lets you match your insulin dose to the amount of carbs you're eating.
Carb counting can seem a bit intimidating, though.
Oh, it definitely gets easier with practice.
Yeah.
And don't forget, a registered dietitian can teach you all the ins and outs.
Good point. What other meal planning approaches does the Mayo Clinic recommend?
They have a concept they call choosing your foods, which basically means you have lots of flexibility.
Oh.
You make healthy choices within different categories like carbs, proteins, and fats. It's about making sure each choice within a category has about the same impact on your blood sugar.
So it's kind of like a mix and match approach to meal planning.
Exactly. You get variety and you get to choose what you enjoy.
Love that. What about the glycemic index? I've heard that mentioned with diabetes. How does that fit in?
The glycemic index, or GI, it ranks foods based on how quickly they raise your blood sugar.
Oh, interesting.
It can be helpful,
No way.
but it's not for everyone.
How so?
Well, for example, watermelon has a lower GI than white bread, even though it's sweet. So watermelon won't spike your blood sugar as fast.
Wow, that's surprising.
It is. And again, a dietitian can help figure out if using the GI is right for you.
It seems like there's so many different tools to pick from.
Yeah.
What does a real-life meal plan actually look like? Does the Mayo Clinic have examples?
They do. They actually have a sample menu for someone who needs between 1,200 and 1,600 calories a day.
That's helpful.
It's just an example, of course. Your personalized plan might look different, but it gives you an idea of what's possible.
Makes sense. Can you walk us through it a bit? What kinds of meals are we talking?
Let's see. For breakfast, they suggest some whole wheat bread with a little jelly,
Okay.
a little shredded wheat cereal with low-fat milk, a piece of fruit, and coffee.
Sounds pretty good.
For lunch, a roast beef sandwich on wheat bread, a medium apple, and water.
Okay, that sounds delicious. What about dinner?
They have salmon cooked with a bit of vegetable oil, a small baked potato with a little margarine, a serving of carrots and green beans,
Nice, healthy and colorful.
a dinner roll, and unsweetened iced tea.
Wow, those meals sound great. It definitely proves healthy eating doesn't have to be boring.
Right.
So we've talked about the how-tos, but what about the why? What kind of results can we expect from following this plan?
The biggest one is, of course, better blood sugar control. But it's more than just numbers. When your blood sugar is stable, you're less likely to have those energy crashes or mood swings.
So it really does affect your mood.
Yeah. You'll have more energy to actually enjoy doing the things you love.
So it's about feeling good.
Exactly.
What about weight management?
Absolutely. The Mayo Clinic mentions that for many people with type 2 diabetes, weight loss can actually help them manage their blood sugar levels better. And a good diet is a safe and effective way to lose weight.
So it's a win-win. Better blood sugar, weight management, and more energy. What happens if someone doesn't follow the plan? What are the risks?
Well, we talked about it earlier, but it's important to remember.
Okay.
Uncontrolled blood sugar fluctuations can have serious consequences. We're talking increased risk of heart disease, stroke, nerve damage, kidney damage, eye problems, and even foot problems.
That's a lot.
It is.
It really shows how important this is.
Definitely. It's all about proactive health management and taking care of your future.
This has been incredibly insightful. I feel super motivated to use some of these tips in my own life.
Great.
Before we wrap up part 1 of our deep dive, any final thoughts?
You know, what I find fascinating is that the Mayo Clinic really stresses how important it is to personalize everything.
Okay.
It's not about a one-size-fits-all approach, but finding what works best for you. That's how you make this a sustainable lifestyle change.
Such a good point. So, listeners, remember, your journey to a healthier you should be as unique as you are. And here's a question to think about before we move on to part 2. How can you make this eating plan something you'll actually stick with long term?
That's a good question.
Welcome back to our deep dive into creating a healthy eating plan to manage diabetes. Last time we talked about how the foods we choose directly affect our blood sugar.
Yeah.
We explored healthy carbs, fiber, and those heart-healthy fats, even the good ones that people sometimes think are bad.
We also touched on those foods we should try to limit, like saturated and trans fats, cholesterol, and sodium.
Right, those sneaky things that can impact your heart. We've laid some great groundwork, so now I want to get into the practical side of things. What tools and strategies can we actually use to put all of this knowledge into action?
Absolutely. We briefly talked about the plate method and carb counting, which are helpful tools for meal planning.
Right.
And of course, we can't forget about those registered dietitians. They can give you personalized guidance.
Those dietitians are lifesavers.
Right.
But I'm really interested in that choosing your foods concept you mentioned. Can you tell me more about that?
Sure. It's a very flexible and empowering way to plan your meals. It's kind of like a menu with different sections for carbs, proteins, and fats.
Okay.
Each section gives you a list of options, and each option is considered a choice.
Got it. So instead of getting bogged down with measuring exact portion sizes or counting calories, it's more about picking a certain number of choices from each category.
That's it. And the best part is, every choice in a category affects your blood sugar in a similar way.
So, for example, a serving of fruit is a choice, and a slice of whole wheat bread is also a choice.
Exactly. It gives you the freedom to create balanced meals while still enjoying a variety of foods.
That's so cool. So even if I'm trying to limit my carbs, I can still choose from different options within that category, knowing they'll have a similar effect on my blood sugar.
You got it. It's all about flexibility and personalization without sacrificing balance and healthy choices. And of course, a dietitian can help you figure out how many choices you need from each category.
So it's like a roadmap for food choices. How does the Mayo Clinic present these choices? Do they provide specific lists?
They do. They have detailed lists for each category: carbs, proteins, and fats. The lists have tons of different food options to fit your tastes and dietary needs.
Can you give us an example of what's on the lists?
Sure. For carbs, you have fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and even some low-fat dairy products. So a choice in the carb category could be an apple, a slice of bread, or half a cup of brown rice.
Okay, that's quite a variety. What about protein?
The protein list includes lean meats, poultry, fish, beans, lentils, tofu, eggs, and some low-fat dairy. So one choice could be a serving of chicken breast, a cup of lentils, or a hard-boiled egg.
It seems like there's a theme here. Lots of good-for-you ingredients and tons of flexibility. Now, what about fats? Is this where those good fats come in?
You bet. The fats list focuses on healthy fats, like those found in avocados, nuts, seeds, and oils, like olive oil, canola oil, and peanut oil. So one choice could be a tablespoon of olive oil, a handful of almonds, or a quarter of an avocado.
This approach is great because it's not about restricting yourself. It's about making healthy choices that you enjoy.
Exactly. It's about making healthy eating a natural part of your life.
Now, in part 1, we briefly talked about the glycemic index, or GI. Can you remind me what that is, and how helpful is it for someone managing diabetes?
The glycemic index ranks carb-containing foods based on how fast they raise your blood sugar. High GI foods cause those rapid spikes, while low GI foods have a more gradual effect.
So if I have diabetes, wouldn't it make sense to just stick to low GI foods?
Well, it's a bit more complicated than that. The GI is just one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
It's important to get advice from your doctor or dietitian.
Why is that? Are there downsides to using the GI?
One thing to remember is that the GI is based on eating foods by themselves, but we rarely eat that way. Combining different foods can change how they affect your blood sugar.
So a high GI food might not have such a big impact if it's eaten with low GI foods.
Right. It's about looking at the whole meal, not just individual foods.
Right.
Also, the GI doesn't tell you everything about a food's nutritional value. Some high GI foods are actually very nutritious.
Like that watermelon we talked about earlier.
Exactly. It's important to think about the overall nutritional value, not just the GI number. And again, a dietitian can help you figure out if the GI is something you should be focusing on.
So the GI is a useful tool, but not the whole story.
Yeah, it's about finding what works for you.
Now, in part one, we went through that sample menu from the Mayo Clinic with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Do they have any snack recommendations?
They do. They suggest air-popped popcorn with a little margarine. It's a filling and crunchy snack that won't mess with your blood sugar too much.
I love popcorn. It proves that healthy eating doesn't have to be boring. We've talked about how to create a meal plan and all the tools we can use. But let's go back to why this is also important.
Okay.
What kind of results can we expect from following this plan?
The main goal is better blood sugar control. But it's not just about the numbers. When your blood sugar is stable, you're less likely to have those energy crashes and mood swings.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's about having the energy to live your life to the fullest.
So it's about your overall well-being.
Definitely. And don't forget about those long-term complications. We talked about heart disease, nerve damage, all that. It's about taking care of your health for the future.
For sure. And for people with type 2 diabetes, losing weight can really help them manage their blood sugar, right?
That's right. A healthy eating plan can help you manage your diabetes and reach your weight loss goals. It's a double win.
It sounds so positive. But I know this journey isn't always a piece of cake. What are some challenges people might face when trying to follow a diabetes-friendly eating plan?
Well, there's a lot of information out there which can be overwhelming. It's tough to know where to start and what to believe.
Right.
That's where a registered dietitian can really help. They can cut through all the noise, personalize your plan, and support you along the way.
So a good dietitian can make a big difference. What other challenges are there?
Well, there's always the temptation of unhealthy foods,
Yeah.
sugary drinks, processed snacks, fast food. They're everywhere.
Yeah, it can be hard to resist.
It's important to learn how to manage those cravings and make healthy choices, especially in social situations.
So it's not just about knowing the right foods, but also having the skills to navigate real-life situations.
That's a great way to put it. We'll talk more about that in the next part of our deep dive.
Looking forward to that. Any other challenges we should talk about?
One more thing is the emotional side of food.
Okay.
For many people, food isn't just about fuel. It's tied to memories, emotions, and social gatherings.
So changing what you eat can bring up a lot of emotions.
Right. It's important to be kind to yourself and get support from the people you love. It's about recognizing how we feel about food and making changes with understanding.
That's really important. It's not just about what we eat. It's also about how we take care of ourselves throughout this journey.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's a holistic journey that involves our physical, mental, and emotional well-being.
I'm feeling much more prepared to make these changes.
That's great to hear. In the last part of our deep dive, we'll explore even more ways to make healthy eating sustainable and enjoyable.
Sounds great. Stay tuned, everyone, as we explore mindful eating, managing cravings, and making healthy choices in those tricky social situations.
We'll see you soon.
Welcome back to our deep dive. We're in the final stretch of our exploration into creating a healthy eating plan for managing diabetes. In the first two parts, we really broke down how food choices affect blood sugar. We talked about those healthy carbs, fiber, and those good fats. And we covered some practical tools like the plate method and carb counting.
Right, and we also discussed that choosing your foods approach, which gives you lots of flexibility in meal planning.
Exactly. And, of course, we can't forget the importance of connecting with a registered dietitian.
They can be such a valuable resource for personalizing your plan.
Absolutely. But now I want to talk about those everyday challenges, those tempting foods, those social situations where it's hard to resist, and those moments when willpower just doesn't seem to be enough.
Yeah, those can be tough.
So how do we make those healthy choices stick? How do we make this a lasting change?
One powerful strategy is mindful eating. It's about paying attention to your food and the whole eating experience without judging yourself.
Okay. Mindful eating, I like that. What does that actually look like?
Well, it's about slowing down, really tasting each bite, and listening to your body's signals of hunger and fullness.
So it's not just about what we eat, but how we eat.
Exactly. Mindful eating can also help you notice those emotional triggers that sometimes lead to unhealthy choices.
Ah, yes. Those times when we reach for food for comfort or just out of habit, even when we're not really hungry.
Right. By understanding those patterns, you can start to change those habits.
So we can make choices that actually support our health.
But that's the goal. It's like rewiring your brain's relationship with food.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we bring mindful eating into our busy lives?
Well, for starters, try creating a calm and peaceful eating environment.
No more eating on the run or in front of the TV?
It's best to avoid that if you can. Try sitting at a table without distractions and just focus on your food.
Okay, that's a good starting point. Anything else?
Really use all your senses. Pay attention to the colors of your food, how it smells, the textures, how it tastes. Really take the time to enjoy each bite.
That's a great reminder to slow down and appreciate those little things. I know I tend to rush through meals sometimes. What about those internal cues we should be paying attention to?
Start by noticing when you actually start to feel full. And don't be afraid to stop eating, even if you haven't finished everything on your plate.
It's about listening to our bodies.
Yeah, you're in control. Sometimes the best thing you can do is honor your body's signals and stop when you're full.
I know that can be a tough one, especially if you grew up with that clean your plate rule.
I hear you. It's a common struggle.
hmm
Okay, now, what about those moments when cravings hit? Those sudden urges for something specific. What can we do about those?
Oh, yeah, cravings can feel so strong.
They're totally normal, but we don't have to let them control us. There are ways to handle those moments.
Okay, tell me everything. I need all the help I can get.
First, try to figure out what triggers those cravings.
What sets them off?
Right. Is it stress, boredom, tiredness, or maybe certain social situations?
It's like detective work.
It is. Once you know your triggers, you can come up with strategies to deal with them. So if stress is your trigger, try finding healthy ways to manage that stress.
Things like exercise, meditation, or spending time outdoors.
Exactly. Address the root cause instead of just fighting the craving itself.
Makes sense. What if boredom is the culprit?
Then find something fun and engaging to do, like reading, doing a hobby, or connecting with friends.
It's about finding something else to focus on.
Yeah.
Okay, and what about social situations? Those gatherings where unhealthy foods seem to be everywhere.
Planning ahead can help.
Okay,
If you're going to a party or something, maybe offer to bring a healthy dish
good idea.
or have a healthy snack before you go so you're not as tempted by those less healthy options.
Setting yourself up for success.
Right. Now, what if a craving hits you out of nowhere? Like all of a sudden, you just need that chocolate bar.
Oh, I know that feeling.
One trick that works surprisingly well is delaying gratification.
Delaying gratification.
Yeah.
What's that?
So when that craving hits, instead of giving in right away, tell yourself, okay, I can have that in 15 minutes.
Okay.
Just hit the pause button. Give yourself a little breathing room.
What's special about 15 minutes?
You might find that the craving goes away on its own,
Really?
or that it wasn't as strong as you thought.
Huh. Interesting. It's like giving yourself a chance to really think about it.
Exactly. And if the craving is still there after 15 minutes, you can still have it.
But I've at least made a conscious decision.
Right. You're back in control.
Instead of letting the craving control me.
Exactly. Any other strategies that might help?
Laid on me.
Finding healthy substitutes for your favorite treats can be a game changer.
So like swapping that candy bar for a piece of fruit with some nut butter.
Perfect example. Or instead of ice cream, maybe some frozen yogurt with berries.
Okay, little swaps, big difference.
Right. And remember, this isn't about being perfect. It's a journey. It's about progress, not perfection. It's okay to have those treats sometimes. Just be mindful about it.
Such a good point. It's about finding that balance, nourishing your body and enjoying those things you love.
Exactly. And that balance will look different for each person. The important thing is finding what works for you and your lifestyle.
And making it sustainable. And we don't have to do this alone, right?
Absolutely not. Lean on your loved ones, your healthcare team, support groups, or even online communities. Having people to support you can make a huge difference.
It's like having a team to help you stay on track.
Exactly. As you work on creating a healthier lifestyle, remember it's a process. Be patient with yourself, celebrate every win, and ask for help when you need it.
I love that. This isn't about feeling helpless. It's about taking charge of our choices and creating a life that feels good for our bodies and our minds.
Well said. As we wrap up our deep dive, remember that every meal, every snack, every choice is a chance to nourish yourself.
I like that. It's about moving away from dieting and towards nourishing ourselves in a way that feels good and supports our well-being.
Exactly. And as you explore all those food choices out there, do it with kindness, curiosity, and a sense of empowerment.
That's amazing advice. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. These insights are so valuable.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into building a healthy eating plan to manage diabetes. We hope you've learned some practical tools and a new way of thinking about food. We hope this helps you on your own journey to a healthier and happier you. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep nourishing yourself in ways that feel good and bring you joy.